count the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California won the big game.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes. Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vane, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
Hump-Day Wednesday edition. We've made it to midweek. Not bad. Not bad. Hit us up on the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. Good morning, Prometheus. It is Hump Day indeed. This is called Acoustic Cinematic. Yeah. Professional door text line 3910788. Yeah, not a big fan of that one. Yeah, that wasn't good. That wasn't good. How's everybody doing? Keon Brown joins us. The ACC basketball polling came out. We'll talk about that with KB. He was right on it, by the way. Shocker. Not. David Teal and Bill Roth today on the program. And us. A lot to discuss. Anything that's on your mind. Good morning, Paul. Wednesday, and they just keep coming faster and faster. Yeah, they do. They do. All the seasons converge. Time will feel like it's going a lot faster. As you get older, it does. It does. No regrets, though. From the Waspy campus of Emory and Henry to the golf champions of Bluefield State and now the Pirates of Matantas High School in Palm Coast. Is that right? Matantas? BDST is on the air. Morning, Morris. How are you? Good stuff. Good stuff. A lot to go. A lot happening today. Good morning, Tootie. Good morning, John. I think our eventual coach is one that's not being mentioned a lot. Greg Schiano or Matt Campbell type coach. Yeah, there's a lot out there, man. It's funny. People all day send me things that show up on X about the next Virginia Tech coaching search, the new hot board, when nobody has a damn clue. That's why I'm not going to do that, because it is what it is. There is no hot board. It's just a bunch of speculation and clickbait. That's all it is. People trying to get people to, get excited about something. And that's really all that there is. Nobody has any information other than what the agents may be putting out there. And nobody has any inner knowledge. Remember, Virginia Tech has shut everything down. So where would that knowledge be coming from? From agents, right? It's called marketing. It's called promotion of your client. That's what's going on right now. No site, anybody who puts out a list, there's no credibility to the list because they don't know. And they're putting coaches with certain jobs, and they're trying to put 2 and 2 together. Like, the big hot rumor Monday and Tuesday was Matt Rule was the leading candidate at Penn State. Then I see yesterday or late last night, Matt Rule was unlikely to get the job. People are going to change it as it goes, try to get more and more eyeballs on what they're doing to make it look like that they're progressing with the information. It's kind of what the actual access media does now. Good morning, Opal. How are you? Glad to have you aboard. Always like to have the pipettes in the house. So, yeah, just take it all with a grain of salt until you have somebody like David Teal, Andy Bitter, people like that, people outside of this market that are talking about it don't know jack. If people inside the market don't know, people on the outside don't know. It's pretty simple. I don't know. I told you about the one name I had heard. It was a week ago, right? Ryan Silverfield. And I see, by the way, now he's showing up on many lists. Imagine that. Thanks to Family Fencing, Jason Green and the gang. 540-200-8294, familyfencingRV.com, sponsor of our studios. Free quotes. Doesn't matter the kind of fencing you want. Chain link, vinyl, wood, aluminum, residential, commercial, agricultural. 540-200-8294. Finance options are available. Mark Hunley and McClellan Chiropractic, sponsor of our very, very popular chat room. Thank you. Also equally popular, Professional Door Incorporated text line, thanks to Travis Williams up in Dublin. 38 years in business, garage doors, unlike anybody else. They do it better. Right across from New River Community College. Go see them up in Dublin. Great folks. Great folks. We are presented each and every day, every week, every month by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Thank you so much, Jonathan Sweet, Tim Miller. Little River Heating and Air. Give them a call, 540-553-2971. The James Franklin bus continues on our attorney, Ryan Pry, BDST fan question of the week. 701 West Main Street in Radford, Trust and Estate Planning. So that was our question this week. Do you want James Franklin? And 46 of you say yes. Thanks to National Bank, the exclusive banking partner of BDST here on YouTube. 35 years I've been with them personally. They are the best. If you need a new vehicle, go see Brad Harvey at Harvey's. I was there yesterday. Had a little problem. Well, my Jeep had to be serviced, my Gladiator. And one of those dreaded little light things come on your dash, and it was the start-stop mechanism. There's a little auxiliary battery. They diagnosed it, boom. Kept the cost down as much as possible in the service department. Not only should you buy your next car from Harvey's, go deal with their service department. They're not jacking up costs. They're going to be very honest. None of this $7,000 for an hour of labor. Go see Harvey's. Just stop messing around. And where's my other two? Hang on. Here we go. Lawson's Mobile Home Supply has been a place to go for manufactured home parts, windows, doors, plumbing supplies, installation. 300 North Franklin Street in Christiansburg. Give James Lawson a call. 540-381-8011. And go bowl, for God's sakes, at the NRB Super Bowl. 540-382-5525. Boogie bowling and Halloween's coming up. So you should go. You should all go. Morris says, I think the guesswork or speculation of a new coach is just the intrigue of fans. Correct. And that's why these sites know exactly what fans want. Yeah. We dream of making stupid money off a game we love. It's fun. Yeah, that's it. And that's what people are doing. That's what these accounts are doing on X and so forth. Perhaps the insider knowledge, John says, we hear from some of on social media is really from a deep, dark orifice. Well, yeah. Yes, jail. They'll even build that at Family Fencing. Yes, they will. Morning, Rodney. How are you? By the way, bad news, Rodney was telling me it looks like Galax may be canceling the rest of their high school football season. That's bad news. Game this weekend was canceled. The game against Auburn's been forfeited. Hate to hear that. We've had to deal with it a lot here in Reiner. Fortunately, we've moved to the other side of that, and Galax will too. So I hate that for those kids. I really do. But it is what it is. If you don't have more than 12 or 15 players, you can't play a football season. So that's disappointing. Hate to hear that. Really hate to hear that. But let's see here. Where did it go? Let me shoot this up here for you, and then we'll talk about it with Keon, too. Here's the ACC basketball media poll. It came out yesterday. I'm having a hard time segueing into basketball. It always takes me a little while to get into the basketball with football season just now half done. Duke and Louisville predicted 1 and 2. Now, keep in mind, this is coaches, this is media members, and sports information directors that come up with these polls. In other words, they're usually nonsensical. Duke, Louisville, North Carolina, NC State, and Virginia, your top 5. SMU, Clemson, Miami, Syracuse, Notre Dame, Wake Forest, and yes, there they are. With all the hype surrounding Virginia Tech, they come in 12th out of 18. You know what I value more? And I vote on a media poll, by the way, in the Big South. Our Big South Media Day is today down in Johnson City. And even as a voter on a media poll, I can tell you that it just doesn't matter. So Tech is showing up 12th on this polling. Then you have Georgia Tech, Pitt, Florida State, California, Syracuse, and BC. But like I said, don't get too caught up in the fact that Virginia Tech is 12th. And we'll show this to Keon and see what he thinks. I'm sure he saw it yesterday. Then on the women's side, you have Duke again. Duke predicted to get a clean sweep. Virginia Tech shows up 10th. On the ladies' side. So, again, don't get too up in arms about all this because it's just a polling. But look how gaudy the league looks. Look at that, 18 teams, man. That's a lot. That's a whole lot. Where did Cal and Stanford show up on the men's side? Stanford is 17th, Cal is 16th. Boy, adding so much across the board, the addition of Cal and Stanford, huh? 16th and 17th. Yikes. That's your polling in the ACC on the hoop side. And again, you can take it with a grain of salt. Don't get too enamored with it, and don't get too offended. I guarantee you Mike Young doesn't care. Now, sometimes coaches may use that as bulletin board material. I don't know. But I don't think for the most part anybody really, really cares, to be honest with you. You know? By the way, did you see this? I want to share this with you. Because, you know, I'm on the baseball side, I'm a Padres fan. Mike Shildt, the manager of the Padres, surprised everybody by retiring a couple days ago. He's a good manager. He's with the Cardinals, and he's a good baseball man, a good dude, very well respected. And he retired suddenly, didn't really give much of a reason. Then yesterday he came out with another statement. Now listen to this. Then this should concern everybody across the board as it becomes more accepted and more prominent. So this is Mike Shildt. Said he began thinking in late August about the possibility of retiring. He said, you know, it's started to feel unhealthy with all the concerns day to day. Makes perfect sense. But he's still, you know, he's only 57. But he said this. One of the bigger reasons, and I didn't want to say this in my original statement, is that in this age of pervasive sports gambling, he was receiving death threats from bettors. He said that after the Padres' season-ending loss to the Cubs in the final game of the wild card series, he went and told his GM, A.J. Preller, that he received 4 separate death threats from bettors and that it happened throughout the final 2.5 months of the season. How about that? is this something that's going to continue to just gain momentum while all these folks who were against it, all we kept hearing was how bad gambling was. And when they realized they could make a lot of money, boy, they shut up about gambling, didn't they? That's very sad, and it's very factual, and I guarantee you it's haven't on elsewhere. We just haven't heard about it yet. And I'm telling you this, we're going to have a major gambling scandal soon, either in college football or college basketball. It's going to break open. We get updates when you work in an athletic department. You get updates on what's going on. Exactly, Paul. They created all these apps, right? We get updates about there is a group that is policing collegiate sports. Remember when the Alabama baseball coach got busted a couple years ago? Remember that? There was just unbelievable activity on one certain game. So they have watchdogs on all this. And we get updates because we subscribe to the service at Radford because we want to keep an eye on things too. And I'm sure Virginia Tech does it, and all the leagues, all the major conferences do it. But there is, if you will, a police squad, not the great show back with Leslie Nielsen that spawned all the great Naked Gun movies. But there is a police squad that watches and keeps up with the trends in Vegas and to see if there's any suspicious. They have professionals that know what to look for. And we get updates. And some of the updates are very concerning. And I believe in the next year or two, you're going to have a major scandal that's going to be revealed about games either being rigged, points being shaved, and it's going to be knowledge throughout an athletic department. I think that's going to happen. It's unfortunate, but let's be real about it. ESPN is in bed with it every game. Now, you can't watch a game of any kind that they broadcast without telling you 17 times to subscribe to ESPN Bet. It's all over the place. Whatever app you choose to use. And this isn't me knocking friendly, just having fun wagers if you decide to do that. This isn't that. I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about inside the walls of college athletics. And it was a natural attrition when you think about where we are with the NIL and the portal. We talked about this on the radio show 2-3 years ago before all this exploded. You're going to have uneven salaries. You know, in the NFL, it's one thing because there is set salaries that position groups get. And they understand that you don't earn the big contract until the next one. Or if you're a quarterback or a cornerback, whatever position, right tackle, you're going to make a lot more money than if you're just a left guard or an interior defensive lineman. Pass rushers are going to have a higher market. There's levels of compensation. But that's understood because they're professionals. In these programs where certain guys are getting tons of NIL and other guys aren't getting much, if any, they are being preyed upon by these folks, these agents of these bettors or these apps, whatever it may be. Hey, you're not making much, are you? Would you like to? Folks, this is going on because I hear about it from coaches all the time. We talk about it all the time in the athletic department. If you see we see strange people sometimes walking around campus, and you're just like, what are they hanging around for? A lot of times that's where it comes from. They're doing their research. They know behind the scenes whether agents are putting it out there or not. They know which players are making the money and which ones aren't. And there's going to be a lot of natural resentment from certain teammates about what one guy is making or a group of guys are making and what that person's not making. And they're the ones that are being preyed upon. Now, he's making that. You're not making anything in NIL. Would you like to make some extra money? How about knocking off a few points? How about fumbling late in the game? We don't want you to lose the game for your team, but how about you just kind of, make something happen late? I got a lot of people, and see, this is why everybody is so smart. Well, the people I hear from then watch this program. You're smart because you watch the program. No, you're just smart. And what Paul said, I heard from about a dozen people that suspicious 2-point conversion on Saturday. Now, that was obviously called from the sideline, and I know it looked bad. I can't imagine that Philip Montgomery's worried about any betting lines. The 2-point conversion in context made 0 sense, especially where the game was, since it was on sevens. But it happened, and stuff like that is happening. And I'm afraid we're going to have a major reveal. One of the things that set Virginia Tech's basketball program back last year was the guard that they had recruited that had a history of gambling ties, and Mike Young brought him in anyway. And then they found out when he got here that, oops, he still had all that, so he was dismissed. I don't think they ever recovered from that. You got to be careful. It's happening. And I don't know how you stop it because it's so much of it. There's so many programs. And with all this money flying around, and now with the new acceptance of betting, you tell me. I don't know what the solution is going to be. It's good that there's this watchdog group in college athletics. I'm glad it's there. But Mike Schilt getting death threats, 4 death threats. And apparently one of the death threats was singling out his family members. Now, obviously, he should have gone to the police, and I don't know whether he's going to now or not. But whatever it might be, scary stuff, man. There's so much money at stake. And it's sad. It's sad to see that, somebody, it sounded like I'm not saying he made up his health concerns, right? Nobody knows his health. It's nobody's business about anybody's health. But it sounds like since he came out 2 days later, like yesterday, it sounds like he came out with the real reason he left, and that was the whole, I got death threats. Morris says, play like Sperry did. Play until the echo of the last whistle. Light up the scoreboard. Yeah. I'd rather see that. I would. I'd rather see that. Just keep going, doing what you're doing. If you can't stop us, we're going to keep scoring. I don't think any defense or any program should take offense at that, especially if they've rolled out their third team and guys who don't play, the redshirt players, walk-ons. Keep running the offense. If you're up by 7 touchdowns and you're in the fourth quarter and you've rested everybody, your first, second, maybe some of your third teamers, and you're still scoring, well, you know what? Stop us. I don't think any opposing coach really has a problem with that. We talk about all the time the NFL, the way it's set up with all these close games. Every game comes down to the final series. Makes Pete Rose look like a saint. Yeah. If anyone thinks that, Pete Rose was the only one that was betting on baseball, that was involved in baseball, well, we got a bridge to sell you. But I don't know. I thought that was interesting, so I wanted to share that with you. And it was Padres manager, and I was keeping up with the story anyway. But that is a frightening thing. And I'm sure it's more prevalent than even any of us know. Because these are kids. We talk about these kids making all this money. It's impossible for them to understand how to handle it. Maybe some are more mature about it than others, but for the most part, when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, and all of a sudden you're making $1 million or more, imagine that same reaction from a kid who's 18, 19, and 20, who's not making much of anything, and then they're approached. I'm just saying. Spurrier said after his third string was still playing and scoring, the other team didn't hire me to be their DC. Good morning, Stephen. How are you? Go Jackets. Go Jackets. Big one this weekend for the Jackets against Duke. Now, that'll be fun. I'll be watching that one. By the way, we're doing we're going to be doing our big fan forum on the 25th here on. We're going to go live the evening of the 25th. So what you'll do is when we get closer, you'll send me your email address. We can get up to 6 people, and we'll alternate people. If we get a lot of people that want to be involved, and those of you who the actual stream at the time, we'll keep the chat going. And we'll just have some fun that evening. It'll be the day after the Tech Cal game, and we'll keep up with the game. We'll talk about whatever. Maybe we'll have more information about the coaching search, real information. Prometheus says, don't you think it's a bad look from Tech making these media appointments to later cancel them? Very bizarre. They shouldn't have made the appointment. I half agree. Yes, they should not have said, yeah, he'll be available, and then on Monday tell the media, sorry, we're canceling that. And then they signed the NDAs, which he did mention, and that ended that. But if they knew that was going to happen, which they did because they had announced it and then it happened, why even announce then you were going to have a media session? So, yes, I do agree with that. Now, I personally don't have a problem with it. To be honest, I don't want a bunch of different people from the committee or inside the athletic walls over there going to the media. And it's already caused the problem, right? I mean, it's already caused the problem. The whole let's go on the McAfee show and talk about a committee, and Eddie Royal talking about the progress on his own network. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. So make everybody sign something and get rid of it. Now, that Tech has been very poor about communication. There's no question about it. Nobody's going to deny that. They even know that over there. They've been very, very poor in every way, shape, and form. And I know running Witt out there, given his status and what fans think, is not ideal in any way, shape, or form, especially when you've told that guy that he has nothing to do with the football program anymore. It's bizarre. The whole thing has been bizarre. On the Professional Door Incorporated text line, Rick, who do you think will be the next coach to fall? That's a good question. If Florida State loses at Stanford on Saturday, I think Mike Norvell will be fired on Sunday. You ask me, I'm telling you. Now, I don't think they're going to lose to Stanford, but if you go, even though you have to fly across country and you're 17.5-point favorites, and you go to Palo Alto against a very bad Stanford team, and you lose that game, I think Mike Norvell will be the next head coach like that. Does the committee reach out to coach, or do they let the committee know? Yes, on both fronts. Yes, on both fronts. Committee's doing their due diligence, contacting, finding out about interest and so forth. And yes, agents are contacting Tech. That's the way to good back and forth there. To answer your question, Joseph. Breaking news, Wayne says. Well, somebody asked, so I'm just saying that if Florida State loses at Stanford, yes, if Florida State loses at Stanford, I believe Mike Norvell will no longer have a job, at least by Monday morning. The heat is real with that one. Yeah. David Teal, we'll talk a lot about the Tech situation with David. He hasn't been shy about talking about the Tech situation. And Bill Roth, the voice of the Hokies, right now joining us on the program. There he is. I hate it. I didn't get to see him, though. I didn't get to see him
man.
the weekend. Keon Brown's joining us. What's up, KB?
Rick, what's going on, bro? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I can't complain about a thing. I'm so sorry I couldn't make it last week, man. Gosh. And
Everybody was asking about you.
It's not like me. It's not
I
like
know.
me to miss something like this. So
everybody was asking about you.
Oh, man, it was such a good turnout. I saw the photos, man. Oh, gosh, it broke my heart to not be there, but man.
It had a different vibe to it, especially at the end with Wu and
Coach. Yeah.
It hit pretty hard in a good way, in all the best ways. It had all the feels, as you say, you know?
Yeah. And two guys that deserve it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Come on, man.
Just a great night. Well, how you been? Hey, college basketball polling's out. Let me get us small here. I want to show you this. You've probably already seen it, but and I thought about you because here's the men's poll. If you can see that, KB. Duke, you said Duke and Louisville. There they are.
Yeah.
There they are at the top of the list. Carolina, NC State, Virginia. What do you think about Tech all the way down at 12th with all the hype around their program this year?
Yeah, it's not too many people who believe. It's going to be one of those situations where in order for me to believe in you, I have to see it for myself. And I think they're going to prove to everyone that that is the wrong preseason ranking. 12, no. I can see them somewhere in the 5 to 7 range. But that's okay, too, because I think there's going to be at least 5 to 7 teams in the ACC who's going to make the tournament. I think Tech's a tournament team. I think that ranking is not what you're going to see out of them. You're not going to see a 12th place team out of the Virginia Tech Hokies this season. You're going to see a team, top tier teams. I think North Carolina is going to be worse than 3rd. I know there's a lot of hype around those guys, but I'm still not sold. I'm not bought in yet. They're going to have to prove it to me. North Carolina State and Will Wade is going to be really good. Everyone can see that coming. Louisville and Pat Kelsey is going to be good. Cason Pryor comes back eventually. He's ramping up after last year's ACL injury. I think Louisville is going to be the team to beat in the ACC. I don't think it's Duke. Duke is going to be one of those teams, in my opinion, that's going to have to prove it to me as well. And when you lose your entire starting lineup to the NBA and you think 5 guys are just going to be plugged in and fill the void, I don't see it happening. I know Cameron Boozer, Caden Boozer, Caleb Foster are all going to be really good guys. There's some dudes on there, but I don't think they'll have the seamless college transition that the Cooper Flags, the Concanuples, those guys had, that especially the 3 guys that you heard name be called in the first 10 picks of last year's NBA draft. Kawhi Malawach. It's going to be tough for Duke. It's not going to be tough for Duke, but it's not going to be the team that we saw a season ago. But the ACC is going to be ultra competitive this year. UVA is going to be really good again this year. I think SMU's ranked too high. I think Clemson's ranked too high. A lot of this stuff is off of what, in my opinion, the coach that they have. But the ACC, I think that's wrong. And it's early. But the good thing for Virginia Tech is they'll be able to use that as fuel.
Yeah, they will. They will. Yeah, Virginia, like slam dunk, new coach, right?
Yes.
I know you love, everybody loves what what happened there and what they brought in.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tech 12 here is just, it's almost laughable.
Yep,
it is. Honest, to be honest. So that's okay though. And we vote on these polls. They don't. I vote on the Big South poll. It's coming out today. I know where Radford's going to be.
Yeah.
I know who the top 5 are, and I look at it kind of going, really? But it is what it is. But yeah, Tech 12, and you're right. You can use that as motivation. You can. But, guys, I don't know. Guys today may not pay. Did you pay much attention like that? Did Coach Jones ever use any of that with you guys?
Well, Coach Jones never paid that much attention to it. He maybe mention it, but I did because I was the college basketball guy on the team. So I was looking everywhere. I was looking at the ACC, the Big East, the SoCon, the CAA, wherever the league was. I always looked at the preseason poll, and it's not because I was a player, because I was a college basketball junkie. So I couldn't wait until we were on the road with those Power 4, at the time Power 5 conferences, and I got to talk to the coaches on the other sideline. I wanted to pick their brains, know what was going on in the program. They thought I was weird, but that is okay. I was like, dude, you'll never see me again. We probably won't play you in my 4 years here. So let me just talk to you for 30 minutes before the game. We got 3 hours to warm up anyway. What's 30 minutes going to do? So we never really focused on it. Coach Jones would mention it here and there, but no. For the most part, no. He never mentioned it.
Yeah, there's no way Tech's finishing 12th.
That's of course not.
And that's the easiest wager. I've been talking about wagering. Yeah. That's the easiest wager you can make about it. There's
of course they're not. No
way. It's amazing. We had all these secret scrimmages.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen so much coverage on X of secret scrimmages, right? It's crazy. This used to just be a thing you just do and nobody would know. Sometimes you'd get invited down to it and watch. They'd come to your place on the bus. They go. Now it's like this big. It's almost like it's part of the schedule, man. The way this thing has evolved, and people are actually talking about and covering these secret scrimmages.
Yeah, and that's just been that just started to be a thing in the last 5 years. It wasn't really a thing before. I forget who was the first to do it, but it was coaches leaking information. But a lot of time they're lies as well. I remember I was at a Radford secret scrimmage. I saw the entire thing for myself. Someone posted the score, and it was wrong. And the thing was, they didn't even play it as a game. They were just using it as situations. They played 10-minute spurts here and there. They say, all right, I love to see your 2-3 zone so we can work on some things. I love to see this lineup against your biggest lineup. That's what it is. It's situational basketball. It's not a situation where we're just going to put 40 minutes on the clock and run it as a game. No, it's practice. That's what it is. So a lot of times you read these secret scrimmage information and it's not accurate because they're not actual games. It's practice. Sometimes, maybe the second secret scrimmage, you'll have a situation where you want to use it as a dress rehearsal, but for the most part, the coaches already know what they want to do. It is a practice plan. It's situational basketball. You can take it with a grain of salt. I don't believe in the secret scrimmages. I don't.
What do you think, like when you look at where we are in basketball, we've talked about it a lot. And I want to ask you, because you were a big man, are we ever going to see a return, or do you continue to see it progressing back toward big men being part of half-court offense again? Is that going to happen anytime soon? Because every time I hear about new teams, all they're doing is coming down and shooting threes.
Yep. It's positionless basketball. That's what we're getting. Thanks, Steph Curry. I know he hates that, but he has to take responsibility for it. It's because of Steph Curry that the game has evolved. But I like to say history repeats itself, so we will eventually make our way back to the 2 big lineup. I think it's almost inevitable. We just don't know when it's going to happen. History repeats itself. You'll see the 2-man lineup as bigs, but college basketball is a copycat league. If one team sees the success of UConn and what happened when they won back-to-back national championships, and they understood that they only needed one center out there who was a defensive anchor, and then you have 4 shooters surrounding him on the offensive end, everyone's doing that now. You see the NBA sometimes doesn't even have a center out on the court at any time. Coach Chu from Radford's coming from the NBA, coming from the Indiana Pacers, and he was the analytics guy there. The Pacers ran 5 guys who were all 3-point shooters. The center was Miles Turner, an excellent defensive center who could protect the rim. But on the other end, all he did was shoot threes for the most part. You'll see a lot of that from Radford. 5 guys with high skill sets who all will be a threat on the offensive end. So will we see the return of the big man? We absolutely will. History will repeat itself, as I said earlier, but it's when. I don't know.
Is this an influence from the international game? Because you're right, for years we saw their big players, their big guys were shooting threes. Has that infiltrated this at all since they became such a major part of the NBA, do you think? Or are we starting to see a trickle down from the mindset of how they played in Europe?
Absolutely, we are. And I think it started with Dirk Nowitzki. But the thing about the European big, it was all that they were doing was shooting threes. It wasn't like they had high skill sets, so they could play with their back to the basket, but they had the MO of being soft. And then you have guys like Giannis coming over from Greece, and I'll even put Joel Embiid in there and Nikola Jokic, who changed the game. Nikola Jokic is one of the more physical basketball players that you will see. It might not look like it, but that guy's a load down there. He can play with his back to the basket. You give him 5 feet of space, he'll knock down that three. But that's what's taught over there. Fundamental basketballs. It's not just that they can shoot, is that they do everything well. They don't do one thing particularly good. They do everything well. Nikola Jokic is probably the best player in the NBA. And on the offensive end, there's nothing that he can't do. And defensively, he has improved from his first few years in the NBA. So it is from overseas, I believe so. But it's also a trickle down to a guy that we mentioned earlier, Steph Curry, just changing the game, pulling up from 40 feet, knocking it down, and guys understanding, like Louisville and Pat Kelsey, that they don't. And Pat Kelsey's man, Louisville doesn't shoot enough threes. And if you ask him why does he shoot so many threes, the response that he will give you is because we can't shoot fours. So it's just the name of the game right now.
Well, and you can look at, we talk about the star influence, where you're talking about Jordan, Kobe, LeBron.
Yeah.
Throw that aside. The NBA flourished when you had post players who were stars, right? When you had Kareem, when you had his development, Robert Parrish for the Celtics, when you went to the 90s and you had so many, Hakeem Olajuwon and Shaq, and then that's when the league was really David Robinson. You needed that. And I don't know. It just seems like it's lost so much. And I don't like to watch that. I don't like to watch 53s a game, and I think that's where we're headed, especially, like you said, the more NBA influence that you see coming down to college. I was hoping to go the other way around and college ball would influence the NBA, but it looks like it's going the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're talking about those late 90s, early 2000s, the Kevin Garnett's and the Tim Duncan.
Yeah, exactly. Tim
Duncan was one of the top 5 players to ever play basketball, in my opinion.
No cool.
That guy was unbelievable. The big fundamental. You look at him and it's like art when he's in the post, because you knew he'd always score.
I know.
He always made the right move. If he missed, it was because of him. It wasn't anything the defense did. It was like in 2013 when they played against the Heat and he missed that little bunny over LeBron. Had he made that, they would have won the championship. But he missed it. It wasn't the defense of LeBron. It was just that he put too much on it, and he knew it as soon as he landed. But I think Tim Duncan is the last of a dying breed. Like I said, Nikola Jokic is good with his back to the basket, but as a collective, the players as a whole just don't have the skill sets in the post as the older guys, and that's because they're not focusing on it and they're not making it primary for their offense. You just don't see guys playing inside out in the NBA anymore.
Yeah, that's a great point you make. They don't teach it. It's not taught, and they don't have any idea how to adjust, right? I mean, how tall was Wembayamba? 7 what?
Well, yesterday it came out that he might be 7'6". Boban Marjanovic, who's 7'4", said, I was with him over the summer and I had to look up. And everybody knows how big Boban is. That dude is not a small human being. That dude was dunking without jumping 2 seasons ago for the Houston Rockets. And he said over the summer, I think he grew. I was looking up at him. That is scary. That is not good for the NBA.
But you don't think of him as a post at all. He weighs 100. He weighs 190 pounds, and you don't see him posting up or doing anything that you're talking about.
Well, I saw him in the preseason. He was doing some things, Rick. I saw one play. He was a mix between, and this is no exaggeration, Kevin Durant and Shaquille O'Neal. He crossed the guy up on the right wing, in and out between the legs, put his back to the basket against another 7-footer, and dunked on him like Shaq. If that is the guy that we're going to get this year for the San Antonio Spurs, just crown him MVP and Defensive Player of the Year now. That dude is special. There's nothing you can compare him to because we haven't seen anything like him. He is a video game player. When you create your own player on NBA Live growing up, and you can make him 7'6" with all the attributes up, that's Victor Wembanyama. I've never in my life seen anything like that man.
But I don't think he's going to be motivated to be a big star. He's got his money. He doesn't come across that way. In other words, I don't think he's going to be the next mega star in the NBA.
Oh my goodness. I think you need to be drug tested.
I mean, he's not going to be a guy who's going to carry the league.
Well,
This
no,
isn't
they're
this
they're
isn't going
not
to
promoting
be
the international players that way,
correct.
so
Correct.
maybe not. But
Correct.
as far as what you see on the court, oh my God, my goodness! I know Chad's watching. Chad, set up a drug test for Rick. We'll say 10-15. He's not allowed to do anything else before we get that.
Well, he's only going to play 65 games. I know he's all about the load management. So
Yeah, last
I
year he had
think,
those blood clots and they had to get stopped early, man. That was a thing in the
yeah,
NBA last year as well. My goodness.
blood clots. Oh, I got
Yeah.
blood clots. I got to sit out for a week. Hey, Ryan Pry in our chats brought up something I was going to ask you about.
Yeah.
How much of this is a product of guys not playing 4 years in college anymore, right? Right, they're developing in college and they
Yeah.
get mature mentally, physically. Then they come to the NBA. It's the next part of their job. Now they're coming straight out of high school. Now they're coming straight out. It's changed the whole dynamic of the game. When NBA one and done and all that, the league hasn't been really good since all that. That's a great
But
point.
I wouldn't necessarily put that as the reason, and I'll tell you why. When I think of college basketball in the last 5 years, there was a guy in North Carolina from Richmond, Virginia, by the name of Armando Bacot, who left the school as the all-time leading rebounder, scored over 1,800 points, had all of the accolades. Had he been born in 1980 and he played in the 1990s and he was a teenager in the late 90s, he would have been a top 5 pick. He didn't even get drafted. He had to play in the G League as a free agent. So he was a guy who played all 4 years in college and even an extra year from the COVID year. But that position, those guys are becoming dinosaurs because he was a traditional back to the basket player. He rarely shot threes at UNC. I think he shot less than 10 for his career in 5 years. But had he been playing in the 90s and the early 2000s, people would have been tanking for him because he was the type of big that was needed to be a hub on offense and an anchor on defense. So I really don't attribute that to the 4-year thing for college because the position itself is just it's out of sight, out of mind right now.
Well, I just mean a lot of guys played 4 years that weren't draftable, and I think people saw in his junior year he wasn't going to make it. He never had to want to. He got big bucks. Let's just be honest. And I talked to people that because Radford played him, people were not impressed with him because he never worked. He didn't work.
But it's the time you're born, though. If you look at that guy on the court and say it's 1998, whatever it is, and that's how the game was played when you needed an anchor, there's no doubt he would have been a top 5, 10
maybe
pick.
so. Maybe so. But I think the immaturity, though, of these players coming in has added to a lot of what's wrong with the NBA. A lot.
The entitlement, right?
Yeah. They don't know how to be professionals. They don't know how to work. They didn't have to work. So they come in and they feel, hey, let's create something called load management so we don't have to work as much. And that'll become the norm. And if you fight us, well, you're wrong. And you've got all these reasons. It's not a good recipe. It's not a good recipe.
I can see that for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
it's always a good recipe, my friend, when we have you on. I wish I could have seen you this weekend. And
yeah, man.
Yeah. When I get to see you, when are you going to be like hanging around a Radford game? When do I get to see you?
I'm going to make my way up to Radford. We'll call a game. Maybe I'll connect with you and Cole, see if there's a game he takes off or something, or he won't be able to make it, see if I can fill in for him at a home game.
No, he takes a lot of time off, so maybe, I'm sure it'll be easy.
Don't do Cole like that, man.
Hey, Rick, I can't make it for the next week. I'm sorry. KB, come on. Let's go.
There we go. Big South Media Day today. I'm excited, dude. I am. Come on, man. We're so close. Big South always has one of the last media days, so we know we're right there. We're going to see the poll come out, and we know who's going to be number one already. It's going to be the High Point Panthers. I already know it. I do. Coach Flynn comes over, takes over from Alan Huss, who's going to be the coach in waiting at Creighton, and they're going to hype up High Point. High Point on paper is not the best team in the Big South. You have to give those guys just as much credit as Radford for their offseason. Radford's better from a talent perspective. I think Radford has the best coaching staff as a unit in the league when you talk about the experience of those guys. We'll see, though. It better be High Point 1 and Radford 2. I know Winthrop and Longwood's going to be good as well. UNC Asheville always get favoritism early on in the polls. So we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Well, I can't give anything away because I've been embargoed. I know exactly how it shapes up, but I want you to text me when you see the poll and I want your thoughts on where Radford showed up.
Okay, I'm gonna make a prediction right now. I want to say before I get off real quick, I'm gonna say they're gonna have High Point number 1, UNC Asheville number 2, Winthrop number 3, Longwood number 4, Radford. I'm gonna say Radford's 5.
Okay,
That's my
all right.
prediction. But
All
it
right.
should be Radford 1, High Point 2. I'll go Longwood 3, Winthrop 4, UNC Asheville 5. That should be the 5.
Okay, all right. Well, shoot me a text. I want
I
your
you.
reaction. All right.
I got you.
Well, have a great day in class, my friend. Great to see
All
you
right,
as
buddy.
always. You have a great
Appreciate
rest
you,
of the
buddy.
day. All right, brother.
All right,
Take
bro.
care. There you go. Keon Brown, our basketball expert. Yeah, I got to stay mum on that. I can't betray the trust of Mark Simpson, Associate Commissioner of the Big South. Hit us up on the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. Victor Wimbayamba might be a really good player and a freakish player, but he's not going to be a mega star carrying the league. I think that was my point. I mean, sure, he has skills and all that we see. The NBA doesn't have anything. They don't have that guy anymore. I mean, they just don't. They don't have that guy anymore. I mean, the NBA, ESPN is going to keep hyping up LeBron because it's all they have. They think that that's going to be, and that's not carrying the league in any way, shape, or form. Because just as many people dislike LeBron James as like him, so he's not a guy he's creating division amongst basketball fans. He's not unifying basketball fans. But they don't have anybody beyond that. They don't have anybody beyond that. Paul says, Rick, you know what's happening, right? We are headed to Biff's alternative timeline when old Biff changed it with the sports book. Well, you might be onto something. It's a tenuous time in athletics, especially collegiate athletics, man. It's a tenuous time with all the wagering and things that are going on. I mean, now the NCAA put a thing out. We got it in our athletic department because all athletic departments get one. About a week and a half ago, they said, look, you can bet on pro sports, athletes. And this is where we are with the lack of common sense. Legally, they know they can't stop it. It made no sense, but they're saying, hey, we can't stop you from betting on pro sports. Yeah, because, it's just going to stop there. They're never going to look at any college games. What? But you tell me how you police it. Alabama baseball thought they could get away with it, and they got dinged. So maybe the procedures are in place better than we think. I don't know. But it's a scary time. Scary time because you never know. We just want, as sports fans, all we want is our stuff to be legitimate. We want our sports to be legitimate because we're fans and we want it to be real because our everyday lives are real with work, family, kids, whatever it might be. We want our distraction, our passion of sports to be real. We want everybody involved to be as dedicated as we are to having to be dedicated as we are to our everyday livelihood, right? We don't want to hear about guys taking 15 games off. We don't want to hear about, guys who just said, they weren't ready to play. We don't want to hear about betting and guys who are taking money. That's why the whole portal thing's been such a shock. We don't want to know guys are making $2-3 million and they come out and they don't contribute and how those deals are guaranteed. There's certain things we're sports fans. We just want it to be what we are. You grow up with the golden rule. I know I did. Treat people like you want to be treated. We want our sports to treat us like we go out and treat our daily jobs ourselves. That's all we want. I don't think that's too much to ask as sports fans. Things to be on the up and up and the people just actually give a damn. That's all we ask. The money changes it all. We're going to go back. Somebody referenced Cyndi Lauper last week. Money changes everything, right? It's changed everything professionally. It's now changing it in collegiate sports. It's changing it down in the high school level. I mean, it's going to trickle down even further. That's all we want. We want to sit down on a Saturday afternoon when we have our fan forum here on BDST on the 25th. We want to just be able to chill out and watch good games and watch kids who play hard and want to play and want to win. That's all we ask. Like with Virginia Tech losing games the last 2 weeks, I'm sitting around going, it doesn't really bother me because look how hard they're playing. At least they're playing hard. At least they care. And that means a lot today. You don't get that a lot. You can see it immediately when you watch a game. Phil Amation said all he has to do is watch 2 or 3 snaps and watch the line, right? And if those guys, he can tell immediately who's going to be playing hard the rest of the game and who's not. Wayne says, my dad took me to Michael Jordan games as a kid, ordered tickets way in advance. Yeah, it was an event. Can't imagine how crushing it is if he sat for load management. NBA is not fan-friendly. No, they're not. And really, none of these leagues are fan-friendly. And that's what's happened with professional sports. And see, that's why many of you and me were probably like, you know what, pro sports have kind of gone a little bit. We like the college sports. Well, now the college sports have become pro sports. But the NBA, none of the pro leagues care about the fans. The NFL is showing they don't care about American fans because their focus is on the international growth. They don't care about trying to fix the officiating. They don't care about anything but television ratings and revenue. That's all Roger Goodell. He makes $66 million because the NFL is making more money every year than they've ever made ever before. They surpass it by billions every year. There's no concern for the fans by any of these sports. Baseball, moronic commissioner. NBA, moronic commissioner. Goodell's a moronic commissioner. They don't care about the fans because they figured out ways. They're the mouthpieces of the owners, and they're out making money for the owners. So that's what they care about. We get left out. And all we want is for it to be real. We want to be heard. Like Tech fan now, think about the reaction we've gotten since Tech announced they're shutting down any information. NDA signed. We're going dark. I got told that nobody's allowed to come on right now, the show, because of all this. I understand. I'm not complaining about that. I get it. But again, fans who have spent their money, Tech fan, and I've given you your flowers on a daily basis here. How wonderful you are. Support. You demand more. You want more information. You don't like the secrecy. I get it. You're not getting what you're putting into it, right? Just like any other relationship. No, not Roth or Brandon. I'm talking about coaches, people like that. Bill Roth's coming on today. Mike Burnip was on yesterday. No, not Roth or Burnip. I'm talking about requests I had in for coaches and administrators. Things like that. So all the people had to sign NDAs. Brandon, that's who I'm talking about. But we're not getting what we're putting into it. Just like in a relationship, you can find out pretty quickly, right? That's why relationships usually don't work out. Are you putting into it what your partner's putting into it? If not, or vice versa, it's probably not going to work. Big Al, all leagues are money friendly. That's right. That's all they care about. That's all they care about. Maybe wanting more donations for less information is not a good model. Yeah. That's what Tech's dealing with right now, and I'm hearing that a whole lot. A whole lot. Yeah, Jimmy, there's no denying it. The ratings are exploding in college football. I wrote about it a couple weeks ago in my Big Dog Barks column in The Patriot. The ratings are 23% up across the board on all college football streaming outlets. How about that? By the way, I want to share information here from Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce. It's going to be Montgomery County Chambers of Commerce Day, Saturday, November the 1st, against Louisville. $25 plus fees. Of course, I'm now part of Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce. BDST. So the Louisville game. So check them out. Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce. We're going to have Steve Bafuto on to talk more about what's going on with the chamber here and all that. Good stuff. Good stuff. Paul says, yeah, I had someone tell me one time, if you're in a relationship and one of you think there's a problem, then there is. Correct. That's right. That's right. 100%. No, Wayne, chat's never as good without you. The McClellan Chiropractic chat room is a lot of fun every morning, as is our BDST professional door text line. David Teal and Bill Roth coming up a little bit later on here on the program. Call us, NRV Super Bowl. They've been part of the community for 25 years. 382-5525. Boogie Bowling. 9 to 11, Halloween. Boogie Bowling. $40 per lane. Go see James Lawson, Lawson's Mobile Home Supply since 1997. 540-381-8011, 300 North Franklin Street in Christiansburg. Thank you so much to Harvey's GM in Radford. Go buy your next car from Brad Harvey. At least go talk to him. And then go other places and tell me where you're going to feel better about your conversation. Had to deal with not an issue with my Jeep because it had to be serviced, but then I found out the little auxiliary battery was shot because I got that. Nothing worse than seeing symbols that pop up on your dash and you don't know what the hell it is. I had the little A with a circle. Looks like a little devil's tail on the end with an exclamation point. I'm driving along and all of a sudden it pops up. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? I got a dragon on my, am I towing a dragon? Does that mean that the little gremlins inside my engine is just pulled out, my starter or just punched a hole in the gas tank and I'm getting ready just to, what is this? Can you make the symbol something that makes sense? Can't you just put something up there that's got little words? Hey, man, you might need to check your start stop. Wow. Oh, Joseph, nothing makes me madder, man. These billionaire owners. By the way, they put out a graphic. I should have brought it to the show over the weekend. Every owner in the NFL is a billionaire. Every one of them. And they build these new stadiums and then expect taxpayer dollars to pay for these new stadiums. No new stadium should ever have to be built via the taxpayer. And then they've jacked up. Yeah, they've jacked up. People are complaining in Buffalo what the new season ticket packages are going to look like. Rick's birthday is Halloween on a Friday. That's correct. I am a Halloween baby. Think we need a BDST Big Dog Bash. I turned 74. 74. The flux capacitor is on the fritz at that point, Rick. Yeah, exactly, Brandon. Like what? An A with a circle? What does that mean? What's the exclamation point? Does that mean I'm even in more peril? So I'm going, I've never seen that before. So I'm going through the book out of the glove compartment. Oh, there it is. My start stop, which by the way, I don't like the start stop feature. You're sitting on a certain grade and then your vehicle turns off. And then when it's time to go and you hit the gas, it starts back up. That's what fortunately you can turn it off. I'm not a big fan of the start stop feature, but that's what it was. And then I was just going to ignore it. But then I looked and it's, from other people. You can't get it from the book, but you go online and Better get that little battery fixed, because if you don't fix the little auxiliary battery, then it starts draining your big battery. Thanks, Wayne. Don't look a day over 69. Appreciate that. You're getting lots of Back to the Future references today. It's great. 10 out of 10 times when Back to the Future, the original is on, I'm just leaving it on. Right? 3 movies that whenever they come on, and I know they're not the same, they have commercials, that I'm never going to turn the TV from: Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, and the original Jurassic Park. I'm always just going to leave those on. Ghostbusters is, I think, my all-time favorite comedy. Brilliant movie. Ghostbusters 2, better than you think, especially when you look at all the crap they've done since then. Remember Rollerball, Al asks. Remember Roller Derby? I remember Raquel Welch. Nothing wrong with that. Was in a roller derby movie. Thanks to Professional Door Incorporated, residential commercial garage doors, Travis Williams and the crew. Family owned and operated, 38 years in business, sponsor of our text line. Right across from New River Community College. Thanks to Larry Ramsey, everybody, National Bank member, FDIC. I know they watch every morning. Good morning, Larry. 35 years I've been with them, by the way. The attorney, Ryan Pry. I know, I get it. I hear you. You want James Franklin, Hokie Nation. The BDST fan question of the week. 84% of you want James Franklin. Go see Ryan Pry for all of your estate and trust planning. Little River Heating and Air. Charles Lee, 540-553-2971. Give him a call. Every day we're presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Thank you so much for everything that you do up there, Jonathan Sweet and Company. Each and every week we tell you about new stuff that's going on there. McClellan Chiropractic, sponsor of our text line. Go get your back snap like you never have before with Mark and everybody at McClellan. And thanks to Family Fencing, our first sponsor of the new show here on the program, sponsoring our studios here in Reiner. 540-200-8294, familyfencingnrv.com. Free quotes, payment options, and finance options available. Go get your fence. Kansas City Bombers. You get your damn hands off her. Exactly. Start-stop feature wears out starters. I hate it. We're not idiots. We know how to start and stop. I saw that too, Anthony. Somebody, one of these things I was just talking about on X. Mark Stoops emerges as a major candidate for the Virginia Tech job. You know why that's out there, Anthony? His agent knows he's going to lose his job at Kentucky in all likelihood. What's Kentucky doing? Let's get this right here. Hang on. Wait a minute. Sorry, that's a random Family Guy reference right there. Kentucky. Kentucky's 2-3. They have Texas this weekend. Then they have Tennessee, Auburn, Florida, Tennessee Tech. They go to Vandy and then Louisville. So they might go 3-9, which means Mark Stoops will be fired. So all you're seeing, Anthony, is somebody falling for the banana in the tailpipe as agent putting it out there. Hey, we're going to connect him to the Virginia Tech job. Let's get that out there to help out. Let's put him out there to help out. Why would Virginia Tech want Mark Stoops? Look at some of these names you're hearing. Sit back and go, does that make really any viable sense in Blacksburg? He's had everything he's ever wanted at Kentucky in terms of resources and financial support. And they had a couple seasons where they were okay. But if they go 3-9, Mark Stoops is going to be fired. It's going to be another opening out there. I write about it this week in my Big Dog Barks column in the Patriot. Thanks, Mike Williams, for the outlet. So right now you have 6 major jobs that are open. And this is why people are frustrated. There are potentially 10 more jobs. Heath Hyatt, no James Franklin. I'm sorry, Heath, but apparently Tech Fan has already decided that's who they have to have. Penn State, Arkansas, UCLA, Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, Stanford are open now. These next jobs have all been added to the Vegas hot seat. So let's get into this. Florida. That's been out there for a while. Add Florida to the mix and think how the competition all of a sudden is going to change. Add Auburn. Been a lot of rumors recently about Auburn. Wisconsin. I'm a big Luke Fickell fan. I think Luke Fickell wouldn't be a bad guy to maybe think about if things work out, but he's going to lose his job at Wisconsin in all likelihood. And all of a sudden, here comes again. Venables at Oklahoma. They get bombarded by Texas. Keep an eye. This game is intriguing. South Carolina, Oklahoma is going to swing the pendulum. Pendulum? One way or the other for those programs and the pressure on those coaches. It's either going to be Shane Beamer, or it's going to be Venables on the Oklahoma side. Watch that game and realize that, okay, Tech's off this week, so you got to look for side stories to be interested in. Kentucky, we just talked about. I think that's going to happen. Michigan State, they just lost to UCLA. I'm going to give Phil Almation credit. We talk a lot. It's great. I'm enjoying so much from Coach Almation. I'm learning. He called me yesterday. He's saying there's certain schools you lose to. I'm going to let him tell the story on Monday. But if you lose to certain schools, you're in a lot of trouble immediately. Yeah, Dave Doran, NC State. They lost to Tech. He's in a lot of trouble. He's in a lot of trouble in Raleigh. I know they're broadcast people. I would say it's more likely than not that NC State's going to have an opening. The Maryland rumors have started once again. Loxley. All I know is, and we don't know about Bill Belichick in North Carolina. That could be back in play. Who knows what's going on there? I guess it's up to Jordan. But you might have 8 to 10 more jobs added to the 6 that are open, and these are all Power 4 jobs. You might have as many as 15 to 18 jobs open before all said and done. And just think, wow, what are you going to do then? Right? Well, if you're Virginia Tech, you don't do anything. You just keep going. You don't let that influence you make. The last thing you want to do is rush and make a big, big hire. All right? So you might have 15 to 18 jobs. Tech fired their coach, one of the first jobs, right? People said they got an early start at least. Yeah, they have. And maybe this whole shutdown means that the committee's actually doing more. I write about that in the column this week. Maybe it means the committee's further along than you think. So that's my answer to you, Anthony, about Mark Stoops. Let's put it this way. Ask yourself the question. If Virginia Tech announced the hiring of Mark Stoops, what do you think the reaction would be? It won't be Mark Stoops. Tar Heels had a poll. 71% wants Franklin. Really? In Chapel Hill. He has NC State ties, too. Here's another tidbit of knowledge, Paul says. My dad always said about something's worth. Oh, that's worth XXX. No, it's only worth what someone will give. Correct. Yeah, we're going to have all the Three Rings people on here. Wayne watched the 1983 game between Galax and GW. That's why it's so sad what's going on with Galax. I mentioned Heath. No James Franklin. Yeah, Jimmy, Kentucky's not going to win very many more football games. Good morning, Jeff G. How are you, brother? Thanks for joining us in chat. Good to see you, man. All right, David, what are you talking about? Can't go with Lawrence Taylor. Too many long lines on a football field. Lawrence Taylor's the greatest defensive football player in the history of the National Football League. No, you can argue all you want, but you're wrong. And he changed the game forever. But, yeah, he was coked out of his mind many Sundays. He writes about it in his book. That's how, you know. The quote, I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet, but your kids are going to love it. It's a great movie. You realize Eric Stoltz was originally going to play Marty McFly? Eric Stoltz actually filmed over half the movie. You can find online the side-by-sides between Eric Stoltz and Michael J. Fox, and then he was just abruptly fired because directors didn't think it was working. Michael J. Fox was the original choice, but he had his Family Ties TV show. I know, here comes useless pop culture knowledge. But he had his Family Ties TV show, and originally they couldn't work out the contract. And then they realized, well, you know what? If he can stay here, the TV, which is his main binding contract, said if he can get his work done here, he can work for you guys in the evenings. And he did that. He worked nonstop for, several months. Tebow, Franklin just got $50 million from PSU. Why would he want to coach? That is my whole opinion. I think James Franklin's going to spend some time in the media. So does Phil Amation. I don't think he's going to want to jump back into coaching. We don't know, but we'll see. Revolt, Anthony says, if they brought in Mark Stoops. Oh, my gosh. You talk about losing donations. Mark Stoops? No. Wayne meant Giles in GW. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, either way. Yeah, Giles, in the early 80s. Yeah, Mark Stoops, not going to happen in Blacksburg. Yeah, we'll ask Marva about James Franklin, see if she's hearing any rumors. Not enough candidates for all these jobs. I think there are. You just have to do your due diligence. A lot of these schools are going to be even more pressured than Virginia Tech to go out and hire a huge name. Huge names do not equal immediate success. Sometimes it's the under-the-radar hires that end up being the best ones. Right? Yeah. People have forgotten about Bruce Smith. No, we haven't forgotten about him, but he didn't change the game of football. Great player, Hall of Fame NFL player. And he's not the all-time sacks leader. That's Deacon Jones. They just didn't keep that stat when Deacon Jones played. They just didn't. It's weird. It's weird that was a stat that nobody kept. In the modern numbers, yes, he's the all-time sacks leader. Bruce Smith's great player. He also helped land Tech on probation when he was in Blacksburg. Paul's happy this turned into an 80s Back to the Future. It did. Let's let chat finish it, Wayne. I know the answer. Finish this statement. Where are we going? What is Doc's question? What's the answer to Doc's question? Brandon, that is not true. I saw that as well. Supposedly Adidas had a hand to play about getting Franklin out of Penn State. That was a false report. no university worth what Penn State is worth with the kind of donors they have is going to let a shoe company tell them they have to fire their head coach. That is incorrect. Because the donors and all that information about how Adidas paid a lot of the money, that's not true. Not true. I think the problem with Eric Stoltz was that he was doing Back to the Future in his makeup from the Mask movie, Charles says. It was weird. He wasn't comedic enough is why they got Michael J. Fox in there. He couldn't pull off the same type of responses and delivery. Stoltz says he was crushed. He was crushed. Was that a Robert Zemeckis film? He never worked for Zemeckis again. He never got cast in a Zemeckis film after that. Radford's River City unis are sharp. Yeah, we tried. It's something that being part of Radford, which is the River City, we tried to develop something that was true to the actual colors of the city and Radford. In other words, you're not going to see any black River City uniforms. So we incorporated some of the different colors in the longtime Radford logo along with Radford colors. So those type of things don't fall into my uniform police category. I don't mind when you have a community vibe to it and you're trying to, interact like that with where you play. That's different. That's different. There you go, David. Where are we going? We don't need roads. I want to chat to answer that. How good was Doc Brown? How good was that character, by the way? By the way, that character to me pulled the whole movie. Yeah. That was a brilliant character. I heard Penn State may look at Urban Meyer. No, they won't. Urban Meyer is, I think Urban Meyer is, with what happened in the NFL, and that destroyed what was left of any type of shine on that name. Now, people are going to say, well, couldn't he go back to college? He got literally physically ill, or told people he was physically ill when he stopped winning when Team Tebow left. He was never the same coach. Ohio State, he had a lot of money. He had a lot of success. Something happened to him after Ohio State. I don't know what it was. He's not good on TV. He wasn't good in the NFL. And then things just kind of changed with Urban Meyer. I don't know what happened to him, Joseph. I don't know. Tech doesn't have enough bars for Urban Meyer, so we can't pull it. Which candidate, Ryan, which candidate, which job is John Gruden, do you think, a legitimate? Is that Penn State? I know you're keeping Ryan Pratt, by the way, he grew up right outside the stadium, so he knows all about Penn State. Now, I saw something yesterday that I'm hearing gain a lot of momentum. And Ryan, I think maybe you tweeted about it with Penn State. Don't sleep on the possibility that Penn State takes Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame. And then the holy grail of all jobs is open again. You see how this whole thing's going to have just a snowball effect? Right? Watch out for that. That might happen. They might make a pitch for it anyway. Because a lot of people, Ryan, you follow it. And I don't know whether it's true, but a lot of people think that Penn State already has a strong confidence in their next coach, which is why they went ahead and did what they did as well. So let me know what you think. And would that be Marcus Freeman? Yeah, I want Jimbo Fisher back in the game too, so I can do the impression all the time. I do. All right, so I had another question in chat about who do I think is going to be. I think Florida State will open on Monday if they lose to Stanford. You asked my opinion. I think we're going to hear more and more of these openings every week or two. Mark Stoops may be the next one. Watch the Oklahoma-South Carolina game closely and watch what happens in the aftermath of who loses that game. Some of these, the blue bloods, and Oklahoma's a blue blood. I mean, it's just different. It's just different. It's much different. There you go. Ryan Freeman would be great. Yeah, he would be. He would absolutely kill it in the Big Ten. 100%. And he obviously has that connect. I could see that being the first big shocker of the whole coaching cycle. Now he'll shoot everything down now, right? Let's check on Notre Dame's season. I like to do this because where are they, by the way? Where is Notre Dame? Notre Dame. They are 4-2 on the season. They have USC this weekend. That'll be a good game. That's always a fun game, man. USC, Notre Dame. They're going to beat Boston College and Navy. They go to Pitt. They'll probably beat Pitt, although Pitt's no easy shakes at home with Narduzzi. They host Syracuse. They'll beat that. They don't have a tough schedule at all. So Stanford, Syracuse, Pitt, Navy, BC. There's 5 more wins. That's going to get them to 9. Yeah, I tell you what, if Notre Dame beats USC, if they win out and they go 10-2, Marcus Freeman's going to have them back in the playoff. There's where the independence becomes so valuable to the folks in South Bend. They have that luxury that nobody else has. But he could go, feels like he's going to go 10-2. Depending on the USC game. And USC just had a big win against Michigan. Yeah. I saw the UCLA quarterback's first one to have 2 coaches fired in the same year. Yeah, well. Agreed, Matthew. Dillingham will look pretty hard at a Big Ten or SEC job. He's really good. I think you're on to something there. I do. That guy gets it. Tebow says UNC is going to hire Coach Klein from Waterborne. Mark it down. I don't appreciate you talking about a UNC opening. I'm the head football coach down here in Chapel Hill. I don't plan on going anywhere. Hang on. Jordan, I smelled you enter the room because all of a sudden the fresh scent of new strawberries intimated my surroundings. Are we going to stay here next year? As I said earlier, I'm very dedicated to the program here at North Carolina. We're on to Cal Berkeley. Can I do an Ed Orgeron impression? I'd have to work on it first. I don't like just to go cold on my impersonations. That might be tough. Might be tough to do an Orgeron. It might be tough. Yeah, I got to have some context, though, for Millennial Maggie. You know, I don't have context. Like Jordan, I guess, could be Millennial Maggie. You could use Millennial Maggie's voice for Jordan. Why am I blanking on the – help me out, chat. Who's the actor that played Doc Brown? He was in Taxi. Wayne? Anyway, he was the key to the whole Back to the Future movie. I didn't mind the second one. People are asking me now on the professional door text line. Hated the third one. I never even made it through the third one. Christopher Lloyd. Thank you. Jeez, why didn't I know that? Well, I knew that. My brain couldn't find it. Christopher Lloyd, Doc Brown. Yeah. Brilliant in that movie. Yeah, watch the side by sides. When you're bored at work or something, watch the Eric Stoltz scenes. And then you go, wow, no wonder they made a change. That wasn't going to work. And of course, for a couple months of suffering, Michael J. Fox got launched into megastardom because of that movie. Even though the whole time continuum, I'm not sure it all works out, but I think probably we see all these time travel movies, like none of it made sense at all in Avengers Endgame. But going back, I think probably Back to the Future had it as good as anybody's ever done it. The big faux pas in Back to the Future is this. Like, his mom had a crush on him. He got his dad and his mom together. They don't forget about that time. Well, the guy they met back in 1956, whatever it was, is the same guy that they raised. So wouldn't at some point they go, wait a minute, you were there. It was you. That part never made any sense. That's the one part that's always bothered me about Back to the Future. Right? 55. Okay. Couldn't remember the year. Follow what I'm saying? They meet Calvin Klein. He does all this. By the way, when you have your kid does something, sets fire to the carpet, let it slide. We will. They never reference any of that. That always bugged me. Joseph, I don't see Marcus Freeman leaving Notre Dame. Well, yeah, Notre Dame is the Holy Grail. It's bigger as Penn State. We'll see, Joseph. We'll see. It'll be very interesting. But I think if that happens, you're going to have Notre Dame will attract every major realistic coaching candidate to its job because it's that job. But you're going to see the rumors pick up with Freeman and Penn State over the next couple of weeks, despite the many denials that you will hear. If my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, we're going to see some serious great line. Great line. Tebow, I get so irritated every time I talk to a Tech fan and they say we need a coach with ties to Tech. Correct. Just get the best coach that makes sense. Look, all I know, this is what I keep telling people. Tech's going to get a good football coach. I don't know who it's going to be, but I trust Bruce Arians and Bud Foster. I mean, I don't think I'm being naive. Nobody understands how important this is more than they do. They're not just going to go out and be intimidated. First of all, they're not going to let anybody influence what they really believe who would be a good fit. If they weren't part of this, I would be extremely concerned. But when I heard that and I don't like this whole, I think the committee's way too big. It's way too big. And I don't think all those people are going to have impact on this. But the fact that they are there it should give you some peace of mind. Bud Foster, Bruce Arians knows what a good football coach at Virginia Tech looks like. They didn't have any part in the last two hires. They're going to have a major part in this one. Jimmy, UCLA has no idea what they're doing. I have no idea. They have an inept athletic director and a more inept administration. I don't know any viable candidates out there. I really don't. David, that's interesting. Could you see Nick Saban out of retirement if the Notre Dame job comes open? I don't know. I have to believe Nick Saban is bored. Every time you see him on TV, he looks very bored to me. He's in good health now. I saw he talked about his health. I don't know. My guess is he's probably really done with it because he's what is Saban, 72? Early 70s? I think it'd be great for the game if he were back in it as a coach. I think it would be great. I don't think he adds a whole lot on TV at all. It doesn't fit him. So I think 73, yeah. I knew he's early 70s. So I don't know. Again, you don't know what the desires are of all these people who are throwing out names. You don't know what they want. You don't know if James Franklin even wants to coach. He doesn't have any financial motivation to coach. He's been doing the grind forever and ever and ever. Kept waiting on the NC State job, didn't get it, so he goes to Vanderbilt and makes Vanderbilt into a winning program, which is why he became such a hot commodity and why he ended up at Penn State. He might be ready to say, you know what, maybe him and his family, his wife, maybe they're going, you know what, maybe the grind, maybe I'm going to take it easy for a while. We don't know that. Yeah, exactly. That's what I see every time I look and see Nick Saban just kind of sitting there. He has his hands crossed on the desk, watching McAfee. And it's like, why am I here? What am I doing? I know they're paying me a lot of money, but I already have a lot of money. Is that enough? Boy, I'm watching what some of these other programs are doing, and I just don't understand why they're not doing it the Alabama way. Maybe I should go find another program. But that's what I just tell Tech fan. I trust Bruce Arians and I trust Bud Foster. And that's all really you can do because we're not going to get any information going forward. Yes, I would, Rodney. If he brought Jerry Kill back with him, Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, I think that would be an outstanding hire. How could you deny it? You saw what he's done. You saw what he's done in recruiting, what they've done with the NIL money they've gotten down there, the way they play. Yeah, you bring those two guys up here. I don't think you're going to have a Tech fan. Well, maybe you would. Let me ask the question, Tech fan. If you had the announcement that Clark Lee and Jerry Kill were going to come as a combo package, how many of you would be on board? Me. I think Lee's just now hitting his stride. He's got it going now. He's figured it out. He's figuring it out at a place like Vanderbilt. It's very impressive. Very impressive. But you see, I think those are the kind of things that Bruce Arians and Bud are thinking about. They know what a good coach looks. They know who are good coaches. These guys, Bud Foster coached against. They know all these things. We don't, and they do. So I think you have to trust. If you don't trust the process because they're shutting things down, trust that those two guys are part of the process. That's really all we have right now. Bill Roth comes up in about 20 minutes, and there he is, the Hall of Famer, David Teal. He was down at ACC Basketball Media Days last week, and we can get a chance to visit with him. But, David, thanks for coming on here today, man. How are you?
I'm well, Rick. How about you?
Doing all right, brother. Doing all right. Well, let's get right into it. I've had a myriad of people want me to ask. Of course, Tech has announced they're shutting down just about all the information. And you called this a couple of weeks ago the most buttoned-up thing you've been around in a while. But with the NDA signed, they're gone. So what were your thoughts on that when you heard that?
Well, we knew that there were going to be non-disclosures because Witt told Bill Roth that in their interview. Gosh, I guess it's been almost 2 weeks now. It'll be two
Yeah.
weeks ago Friday. But I don't see where that would preclude Witt from talking about the infusion of money from the Board of Visitors, his future with the institution. Are they related to the search? Yes, but are they? He's not talking about candidates. He's not talking about process. There are certainly things he could answer. More importantly, there are things that the Board of Visitors and the administration can answer about the financial plan and this oversight committee that will look at the investments that the athletic department is making. And no one in authority at a public institution seems to believe that it owes the public an explanation.
And that's what
That's
the
way they want to run the railroad, fine.
And that's what I've been hearing from these folks, these tech donors. Are like, look, they want us to give a certain amount of money. All he wants a few answers. They don't feel like they're being serviced. So you're looking at a situation where the customer's being kind of pushed to the background again.
Well, if that's the case, then it's even worse than I feared or thought, because certainly through back channels, they can communicate with their donors. They don't have to do it through dopes like me. But if they are not communicating through back channels with their donors, then shame on them, and they really are clueless.
Exactly. Well, we shall see. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. What is some of the best advice you could give concerned tech fans? I'm saying that all we can, I just said it. I think the fact you have Bruce Arians and Bud Foster on this committee is a positive. That's about all I have to offer because we don't know. Maybe the committee's further along than we know in vetting potential candidates. I don't know what all this means, but is there anything you could tell tech fan to give them a little bit of a boost?
No. You just have to wait and see who the coach is. The sausage making will be irrelevant in the end if the coach turns out to be a hell of a hire. And we won't know that for 3 to 5 years.
Right.
But we will know, the type of candidate they have unearthed by the time this search is concluded. And that's going to be the telltale sign, at least in the short term.
David Teal joining us on the program, the Hall of Famer. I can't ask you if you know of any viable candidates because I don't think anybody does. These sites, these X accounts that keep on putting up these lists, they're trying to get as much traffic as they can. But
sure.
Is there a feeling that you feel like that tech would be more swayed by a bigger name, or are they going to go out? Just your opinion about casting a wide net to various different types of candidates and so forth.
I think it would be prudent to cast as wide a net as possible, given the importance of, hiring your head football coach at Virginia Tech is always important. But my goodness, given the state of the program and the financial stakes here and the investment that the university has committed to make, this is arguably the biggest hire that the Hokies have ever made. So my goodness, they owe it to themselves and to their investors and to their fans to do what you can only describe as due diligence on darn near anyone who might be interested.
Exactly.
And that could very well entail coaches that we're all familiar with. It may entail coaches that we're not as familiar with. It is I don't have to tell you or your listeners, Rick, it is a new era of college football. It is a much different game than even when Brent Pry was hired, and it requires a different skill set and a different mindset. And you have to try to find that person who can work within that environment. And it is chaotic, and it is unsettled, and it is turbulent, and it may be that way for several more years. maybe even as far as the eye can see. And you have to find someone you believe and perhaps has demonstrated the ability to work effectively amid that chaos.
You penned a great piece about what happened with James Franklin, and people here, 80-some% think that he should be the next coach in Blacksburg. But your piece talked about his proteges and learning about the new where we are with college athletics. I think what did you call it? I want to get it right. Football's transactional ruthlessness is inescapable. What a great line. Of course it comes from you. But talk about that and what you learned and what you as you were writing that, what gave you that idea. That was a great piece, by the way.
Thank you. Well, it is. You look at I get it. James Franklin and his program came up small against top 10 and top 5 opponents. But to think that program was one play away from the national championship game last season, to think that this team was ahead of Oregon in overtime just 3 weeks ago, and now the coach is fired. Not for some moral transgression.
No.
For losing 2 games. 2 games. He was there for more than a decade. He won a Rose Bowl. He won an Orange Bowl. He won a Cotton Bowl. He won a Fiesta Bowl. I mean, James Franklin has won more major bowls in his career than Virginia Tech has in its history. And yet he's out looking for. I don't blame Virginia Tech fans for wanting him to be the next coach. He'd be a great choice. Now, whether it's a viable option, that's up to James Franklin and Virginia Tech. But, man, it really is a new world when 3 weeks later you are done.
And we'll never know really, but it makes you ask the question. And I think for every Tech fan that wants, you have to go, well, then why were they so willing to spend $50 million to get him out? Like what happened there? And I know he lost in UCLA. They quit. Northwestern, they really didn't show up, but it had to be something building to just those 2 results, giving the unbelievable resume you just talked about, right? We'll never really know, I guess, what happened.
Well, it has to do with the record in the big games, hence the sarcastic nickname of Big Game James, and the inflated expectations of Penn State. They're in the middle of a $700 million stadium renovation. It's just such. I mean, you think football is important at Virginia Tech.
No.
My God, at Penn State, I know there are professional franchises in the state of Pennsylvania.
Right.
But not in State College, Pennsylvania.
No.
And it is the industry in that region. And people take it incredibly seriously. It is, and how they pivot and what kind of coach they hire. It's going to be quite the carousel this offseason.
A lot of Tech fans are also panicked to see these jobs opening. There's so many rumors about other jobs. We may see this every week going forward, right? I mean, but what's the best advice? I've been telling Tech fans they don't need to panic. I don't think you don't rush your process. I know everybody's going to be eager to get things done, but we don't have any information about how far along it is. But I think that would be. I think being reactive would be the worst thing they could do because, as you just said, we've talked about this. They have to get this hire right.
They do, and no offense to Virginia Tech, but the Hokies are going to be fishing most likely in a different pond than Penn State, or if Florida opens, or maybe even if Auburn opens. But a very similar pond to, say, Oklahoma State, to Arkansas, even UCLA. mean, I would argue that Virginia Tech is a better job than UCLA, even though UCLA has Big Ten money. People in Blacksburg care about football.
That's right.
UCLA hasn't cared about football in forever.
A long time. Yeah.
Yeah. And all I have to do is look at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
So, no, I wouldn't panic from that end. I wouldn't panic if I was a Virginia Tech administrator or sitting on that search committee, just because you can't make decisions based on what others are doing. I heard someone
exactly.
I heard someone on talk radio the other day ask the question, well, if you're NC State, do you stick with Doran this cycle because you believe you'd be competing against too many? No. That's not the calculus. The calculus is, do you believe in your coach? If you do not, then you cut ties, because delaying the inevitable is a fool's errand.
Well, on another front, on a positive news for Tech fan, you were at the game, Atlanta, and I think you came much to the same conclusion I did. I watched that game. Phil Montgomery has his team playing hard.
Yeah.
I mean, they go out there, and I was very impressed. I mean, no matter what the situation is, they go out there. Those guys they have on the field now want to win. It's no short work at all by what Coach Montgomery's done to keep that team focused on the task at hand, given all the distractions. He's done a great job with that.
They were down 18-0, and it could have gotten really ugly. Really ugly. But it didn't. I mean, it's 21-14, and they have a puncher's chance. I mean, I never thought Virginia Tech was going to win the game, even at 21-14. Georgia Tech's good. They're not great. They're really good on offense.
Good. Yeah.
They're pedestrian on defense. But Georgia Tech should be a role model for Virginia Tech. It is a similarly resourced program, a conference peer, and they found their guy. And he found a quarterback. And together they are making it work.
They are. And to go back to when they made their decision to change everything, they got rid of everything, and
yep.
and here they are now raising money. Western was talking about how the program's getting donations they never imagined, right? Because of what they did. They recommitted to everything, and everybody seems like they're on the same page. And that, you're right, then we've talked about it here. They would be a prime candidate to look at and say, okay, what did they do and why did they do it right? Yeah.
And Virginia Tech may be well on that path, at least financially, with the institutional investment. And it will be incumbent upon the coach, the new coach, to help them make it appealing to the donors and to really ratchet up that side of the house.
You going to be in Charlottesville this weekend for the Cougs?
I'm going to be in Harrisonburg.
Oh, good. The Dukes, huh? All right.
JMU Old Dominion. It's a big game here in the 757, although lost a little bit of its shine Saturday when the Monarchs got stomped up in Marshall. But that's what happens when you throw a pick six, muff 2 punts, and commit 2 other turnovers. You turn over 5 times on the road, you're going to get boot stomped. But JMU is winning as we all expected it to. The Dukes are the first Sun Belt team in history to start 4 consecutive seasons, 5-1 or better. Remarkable for a program that just transitioned to the FBS. But they're doing it in a way that I wasn't smart enough to envision, that's for sure. I thought they were going to be a juggernaut on offense and that they would score 35-40 a game. They are not. They are doing it with defense.
They are.
They are top 10 in the country in scoring defense, in total defense, in opponents' yards per play. They are really good on that side of the ball. And they've pitched a second-half shutout in 2 consecutive games. And in their last 4 games, they've allowed 10 points after intermission. That's coaching. And it's going to win you a lot of football games.
Speaking of schools doing it right, under Matt Rohn, that school's doing it right.
Yeah, and Jeff Bourne before him.
Jeff Bourne set the blueprint.
Notably.
Oh, my gosh. Before I let you go, how was your military game experience? I didn't get a chance to ask you last week. I kept thinking about you. I know how much fun and how much you appreciated being there for that.
It was great. And a hell of a football game to boot.
It was.
A record-setting game. And as he showed that afternoon, and as he showed again Saturday against Temple, Blake Horvath, the Navy quarterback, is a baller.
He is.
And he can do it with his arm. He can do it with his legs. And there the midshipmen sit at 6-0. And right in the thick of that American race that will determine almost certainly the group of 5 representative to the college football playoff.
Well, it is always so much special. I know how much you were looking forward to that. That's great. You get a different vibe. I'm sure you do. When the fans who are there and the students and the people that are there for a game like that, and how it differs in a good way from what you normally see on a Saturday.
Oh yeah, I mean, I saw the brigade of midshipmen not only march onto the field Saturday afternoon, but Friday afternoon they have a parade on the grounds of the academy.
Yeah.
Where they march, and you see the silent drill team and the bugle team. It was so cool. And Michael Kelly, the athletics director at Navy, newly appointed this year, longtime contact of mine, colleague, and he was gracious enough to show me around and take me to that event on Friday and spend a couple hours in his office Friday and touring the facilities. It's a pretty special place.
Yeah, it is.
As are all the service academies.
They are. And I've been fortunate to visit them all over the years in basketball travels, man. It's special. They're all special, every one of them. Well, David, thanks so much as always for your time. What are you writing about? You got anything else interesting? Any other things coming out this weekend?
Yeah, I'll be in Harrisonburg, and then in the next couple days, Rick, I've got a long form piece that I would hope folks would take a look at. It's about Mike Young, Ryan Odom, and Mike Rhodes at Penn State. They have come together to help a friend in need.
Oh, great.
A gentleman far too young who's been battling cancer for 8 years. And they all know him and they all love him. And he's got 2 middle school age children. And as sad as it sounds, it's an incredibly uplifting story, and a story of community, and a story of hope, and a story of faith. And it's been a privilege to write, and I hope folks will give it a look.
Oh, outstanding. All right. Well, we'll remind people of that as well. Thanks so much for that. Can't wait to read it. Well, have fun. Have fun at your alma mater. I know you will this weekend.
It's homecoming, too.
Oh, that'll be even better.
Might even take a lap or 2 around the parking lot.
I think you might. Tell Roney I said hello. Tell Tater I said hey, will you?
I sure will.
All right. Thanks, David. Be safe, man. Have fun.
All right, Rick.
There you go. Great stuff from the Hall of Famer, David Teal. All right. We got another Hall of Famer about to come up. Hang on. I got to shut the shade here. That's things coming through. Hang on. I'll be right back. I got to be right back. There we go. Now we're cooking with grease. There we go. So I was smart enough to put up a shade, but then I'm not smart enough in the mornings to shut it before the sun comes up. There you go. Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, it's better now. You're going to see it shake for a little bit. All right, great stuff from David Teal. And as we roll along here in our final half hour, we're joined now by the man, the myth, and my favorite football broadcaster. His name is Bill Roth, the voice of the Virginia Tech football program. What's up, brother? How are you? Good morning.
Man, our home studio is the best. The sun comes through. The dog's on the ground. Someone comes to the front door. Amazon shows up early or late, right while you're on the air.
Need you to sign for this.
That's what you get. That's what you get from doing it in the spare bedroom.
Yeah, exactly.
But good morning. Good morning.
Well, we were just talking to David, and I know you see it. You've been talking about it. I mean, this team, Bill, it really stood out to me how hard they were playing, man. I was going back watching. That was really impressed. And I know they've lost the last couple games, but what Phil Montgomery's done to have this team prepared to go out and play hard despite the personnel groupings has been impressive. Really has.
Yeah, they got the right kids on the bus. They're not getting a lack of effort. Georgia Tech, by the way, is really good. They're playing with great confidence. They've got a tremendous offensive line. Their quarterback is really special. And the Hokies beat them last year, so for them it was somewhat of a revenge game. And King didn't play against the Hokies at Lane last year. But early when you're behind 18-0 on the road, it's with a bunch of freshmen. The Hokies are playing a ton of true freshmen, and you get down like that, and you wonder, is this going to be a long day? And it turned out they made a really nice rally, and they were in the game. And I don't know that there was ever a chance that Georgia Tech was like, we are about to lose. I don't know if that ever got to that point. But you saw the way the Hokies played so hard despite falling behind early, and that'll pay off down the road. I wish I had more information to share about what's going on inside the coaching search. I don't know.
I know.
The committee members are scattered across the country. They're not even getting together in Blacksburg, or at least if they will, they have not yet. So I know that's topic number one on everyone's mind. And it's topic number 1 or 2 on mine as well. But there's reasons that things are kept quiet. It's not to hide anything. I am convinced that just like when Buzz Williams left Marquette to come to Virginia Tech in basketball, there's a football coach out there who is similarly accomplished that might take a look at this, but not if anyone knows about it.
That's a great point. You have to shut it down. And you can't have different informations. Maybe somebody blurting out something they shouldn't. I mean, I get that part of it.
And also, they don't want, this is a great opportunity now with the jobs that are open. This is a wonderful opportunity for an agent to float his client's name out there to get a new contract. And the last thing we need is that. The last thing we need is to get Coach X a big raise because he was interested in Virginia Tech when there was no mutual interest. And in fact, he never had any interest in Tech. And so there's a little bit of a dance that's going on here.
That's right.
And that, by the way, that is an agent's job.
It is.
Every Power 4 agent's job is to make his client wealthier.
That's it.
and happier. And that's a way to do it. So the worst thing is, I mean, it's easy to see when even in the NFL, even in the NBA, you see an agent tips off a writer, hey, I think we're interested. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that person's a candidate.
Right.
And so there's a lot that goes on in these coaching searches. And so to keep it somewhat stealthy is the smart play. But it's a better job now than it was when the Hokies were looking for their last coach or 2 or 3 or ever, because of the financial commitment. So we'll see what type of candidate pool is truly interested in it.
I agree, and I think the worst thing they can do is panic and be reactive. Just stay the course. I like Bruce Arians and Bud Foster. That's good enough for me. They know what a good football coach looks like in Blacksburg. So I trust that more than I do not knowing what's going on. I like the fact that we know those 2 guys are part of this whole thing. So, yeah,
there's going to be, and the other thing is that we want it to happen now, right? That's it. It doesn't work that way. It's going to be at the end of the season in November, December, and that's okay. And it might end up being a little longer, right? To a coach like that. If a coach is in the playoffs, those games are going through January. So that doesn't mean you would know, but in terms of getting boots on the ground. The other thing that's different this time around is, they've changed the portal date.
That's right.
And so if you have a coach that is going to bring players with him or work the portal or that type of thing, boy, that's a really tough window. So clearly one of the things that the committee will have to do is ask their coaching candidate, who's your staff? because you don't have all of January to put your staff together, because by the end of January, the portal's closed.
That's
which was not the case last year. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is there are going to be other coaching changes, right? And just like our 30 days now has expired, but if there's a coaching change, which there will be more, as we know, in November or December, those kids would have 30 days. But it's not going to be the same as it was a year ago when, a new coach came in. And that's going to be the same. Arkansas's got a situation. UCLA's got a situation. Oklahoma State. There's a bunch of schools out there where there's going to be some unknowns, right, throughout the rest of October and November as to where these programs are going specifically. UCLA is a fascinating case study right now because, they've won 2 games in a row, and with an interim coach, and is it possible the talent really wasn't that bad there? I guess they beat Penn State. It was a massive upset, but then when you go back and look at the film, or the highlights at least, they're running the ball on them.
They did,
and they're getting stops, and then they go on the road to Michigan State and they boat race them on the road.
They did.
So
yeah.
So okay, maybe they don't need to flush out their talent. Maybe they're not as far away as, I don't know. I'm not there, but I think as for Tech, we certainly need an infusion of talent. We got some nice young players, but the Hokies are going to be in the quarterback market. They're going to be in the running back market. They're going to be in the receiver market, and defensive tackle and offensive line. Probably we got a couple of young offensive linemen in there, but that'll be a focus moving forward as well.
You, Chris, grew up, you were closer to the Penn State program than most people. How much did that surprise you at all on Sunday morning when that?
Yeah, the timing of it. Yeah, I mean, I understand that they were very upset with what happened in those games, but, if they beat Oregon, it's a different story, right? They're number 2.
No
they were in the playoff last year, and who's going to be a better coach at Penn State right now than James Franklin? I mean, do they want to do a 3 to 5 year rebuild? I mean, I don't understand. I'm not close to that program at all. But the thought that Penn State snaps its fingers and gets elite talent is not true. They've had great players. Yeah, they've had Barkley, who was I guess a top 4 or 5 recruit, but I mean, even Drew, who before he got hurt. I mean, Penn State hasn't had the Heisman quarterback.
No.
And their program it's kind of what Tech was, right? It's built on culture and hard work and rugged defense and teamwork. And I don't know. I mean, I don't follow them that closely. I mean, if I asked you who are the top 3 or 4 Penn State wide receivers of the last 10 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right? I mean, but you could, off the top of your head, come up with that answer for Ohio State. Or Michigan or Clemson or right. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know that this Penn State team has that great skill set. I could be wrong. We got a lot of Penn State people in our football building, but I don't see a lot of Penn State first round skill people drafted over the last 3 or 4 years. And I don't, yes. And Oregon does.
That's true.
So, maybe the reason it lost to Oregon, Penn State lost to Oregon, was Oregon's better.
Yeah, it makes you just,
and maybe Indiana's better than both. There's
yeah,
I wasn't at either game, but that would you want to coach at Penn State?
No,
knowing if you only go 11-2, you're done.
No,
I wouldn't want to work there either. And I understand the AD. No. They went out, they hired the Ohio State coordinator. I get it. If 11-2 isn't good enough at Penn State, which is rural, it's awesome. I mean, I'm from right. I grew up in Pittsburgh. My high school band plays the Penn State fight song every game.
Right,
I mean, I grew up kind of hearing that. That's a tough one because they were winning 85% of their games, and if that's not good enough in this new era where you can make the playoffs with 3 losses, I don't know. But their AD has the pulse of their fan base, and if they think they're not going to make the donations that they need, but their coaching search. The Hokies have a much bigger pool of candidates than Penn State. Let's put it that way.
That's a great point. Yeah, they have that luxury, don't they? Penn State does. They have to. Yeah,
Penn State
right.
They have to hit a grand slam.
Yeah, who's it going to be? I don't know. Maybe he's not available yet. Who knows? It's going to be fast. This whole thing's going to be more fascinating because Tech's involved this year than it normally would be. But the whole landscape's going to be just fascinating to keep an eye on. With the money.
And I know what I just asked you, like someone's probably watching going, well, Bill does know what he's talking about. Why would you want to coach at Penn State? Yes. Yeah, there's thousands of people who would love to be the head football coach at Penn State.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, but is Jeff Collins going to, Jeff Collins will go back and take that. Is Brent Peace going to leave Georgia Tech, his alma mater, and go there? Are they going to bank on Matt Rule leaving Nebraska?
I know.
They can't.
Matt Rule. Yeah.
And they can't hire a group of 5 guy.
No, it's got to be a power. You're right. It's got to be a power head coach. Same thing Notre Dame runs into. Same thing any of the blue bloods.
Notre Dame hired their defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's interesting. And but someone's going to be very wealthy.
There's no doubt about it. James Franklin is extremely wealthy because he lost his job.
and Jimmy Sexton.
Jimmy Sexton. That's exactly right. Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. Isn't that interesting? I don't know. What did you think?
You heard these.
I thought it was I thought it was very reactionary.
My take is something's going on we don't know about because it didn't make any sense to say in this day and age when money is such a big deal to say, yeah, $50 million, we're good. See ya. I mean, you're right. UCLA beat them up front the fourth quarter. But then they didn't show up against Northwestern. I don't know what was leading up to that. But you just went through the accolades. David just went through the accolades. It was a head scratcher. It was that it came now instead of him getting a chance to try to pull it out.
Maybe they didn't want to give him a chance.
Yeah.
So that's what happens. So now let's go back to Buzz. That's what happens when there's an AD change. One of the reasons when Buzz was at Marquette that when there's a change in leadership, whether it's at the presidential level or the AD level, and that may not sit great with a coach.
That's right.
And Buzz went, I'm out. But you're winning. You're in the Big East. You got Elite 8 talent. You got 18,000 people coming to every game. And he's like, nope, I'm out. Now, Buzz has a tendency to move, as we know.
He does.
But there's a coach out there that might find Tech attractive now. That's what I'm excited to see.
Yeah. I think a lot of them are going to.
Yeah, it's a great place, as we know.
It is. And I think people come here and they immediately go, wow, Blacksburg, it's everything I heard it was and more. I don't want to leave here. Well, you win and you won't have to. That's all it takes. What are you doing with your off week? You get a little bye week. Well, at least you're off calling games. You're never off with the SMA.
With class stuff. Yeah, it's nice. I'm catching up on a lot of email and looking at some kids, some work that they turned in. It's teaching is fun. Mentoring is awesome. Grading is not. Friday night, Cal plays, so we'll look forward to watching them in action. We didn't play them last year. We played Stanford out there. So Tech has not played Cal at Lane Stadium. The last time we played Cal, we had a really good team, and they had a fascinating coach, Jeff Tedford, and they had this quarterback named Aaron Rodgers, who everyone was talking about. They've got a quarterback at Cal that you're not really hearing a lot about, but he is really dynamite. And we flew all the way out to the West Coast and saw what Aaron Rodgers can do as a college senior. And he had a good day against the Hokies. He was really good. You know what? Good pro also.
Yeah, he's not bad, huh? That Rodgers kid.
We haven't played him since, so I don't know that much about him.
No.
But Friday night, we'll have a chance to really see them in person. Also, there's 2 games Friday night that I'm really looking forward to. The Louisville-Miami game is something to watch. Man, the Canes up front defensively are going to be a handful for everybody.
They are. That they've been so impressive up front. You think that's the best defensive line in the country? I mean, when I watch them, I'm just like, wow. They are good.
That'd be a good question for an offensive line coach.
Yeah. How do you go against those guys?
Yeah. I don't know. They're going to be in Lane Stadium next month. I don't know how we're going to block them either. I mean, but
Yeah.
let's see how maybe Louisville has the answer for us. Let's see
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, blueprint.
No, because they're pretty well coached and they've got a good offensive system, and that's why I really just didn't watch in the game. I want to see the game when we know what Miami can do offensively. We know what their dudes are. I want to see how Louisville schematically tries to protect its quarterback and tries to run the ball on the Canes on the road. Someone's gonna give us an idea of how we should play against them. I don't know that we've got the O-line that Louisville does either, but I would want to watch and see how they play.
Yeah. That's what people are saying about the UCLA-Penn State game. They were able to run right at them and do some things up front, and that's what Northwestern did. So maybe the blueprint was out there. I don't know for them. I want to, Stephen, somebody asked in chat, and I couldn't come up with it, Bill. Let me ask you a question. If a son followed his father as a successful collegiate head football coach, I was trying to think. Somebody brought up Skip Holtz. I can't think of too many sons that followed their coach's legacy at some of these things where we grew up, coaches we watched growing up or whatever. The father-son coaching duo.
In football or in any sport?
In football. In football. Been a lot in basketball. A whole lot in basketball.
Yeah.
See, I couldn't think of any, to be honest with you. I mean, go through all the great coaches we grew up with and 80s.
That's a great question. Who asked it?
Steven did.
Can I cheat?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I couldn't. Skip Holtz had some moderate success, but that's the only one I could think of.
Mike and Kyle Shanahan, Jack and Jim Harbaugh, Bill and Brian Callahan, Buddy and Rex Ryan, Al and Mike Groh. That's the NFL.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
Joe and Jay Paterno.
Yeah, Jay was a quarterback's coach at Penn State.
Yeah. Nothing off the top of my head, but it's not like a situation where it just jumps off the top of your mind like Rick and Richard Pitino, and they're both in the NCAA tournament coaching against each other. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, in college basketball, it happens all the time.
I see where you're going with that, Stephen.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just asking randomly. Well, listen, brother, great stuff, man. Enjoy your
You too. What do you got this week?
Week off. We've got let's see, we're getting close. We got our basketball media day today in the Big South. We got broadcast tonight. Women's soccer is really good, so always look forward to that. And then,
I should point out we're not doing a Tech Talk Live tomorrow night out at First and Main. So no radio show with Coach and Mike and Zach Thursday night. We'll be back next week. And then remember, the Cal Bears is a Friday game.
That's right. You doing the podcast with Mike this week?
Yeah, it's already up and done. We have Mike and I did it. It's already came out yesterday. Coach Montgomery's on it.
Good.
This off week is coming at a really good time. It was one of the last open dates in college football, and gosh, we got a lot of guys banged up.
Yeah,
a lot of guys hurt.
They needed it. Yeah. They need that offensive line depth back,
and mentally too. I mean, you have a coaching change, and all these things have happened, and you got all these dudes popping into the portal, and so if you're still sticking around on this team and you're banged up and you're wondering what's going on here, but who's here, who's on the bus with us. This is a good week to reset because the effort's been there, and we'll have a real good if they play the way they can play. We'll have a real good feeling Friday night.
That's right.
We'll talk more about that. I'm way behind on my Cal Bear prep. There's so many teams in our league.
I know.
Their quarterback looks great, and the beautiful thing last week was Wake played Georgia Tech before us, and so I got to watch the game, and that was our next two opponents.
That's right. Yeah.
Plus, we had played Georgia Tech last year, so I had a sense of who they were and what they're about, and I'm as in the dark as possible, other than the quarterback on the Cal Bears.
On the Bears, so. Yeah. You'll be there though. You'll be as always.
We got a week. We got a week and 2 days. We got 10 days till the game. So I know our coaches are on it, and let's see if we can get a great win. It's a long trip to fly all the way from Berkeley to Blacksburg and win a road game.
Really
so
is.
We win this one. We're 2-2 in the league and feeling good about a great stretch run for our team.
Yeah, and you're right. It's a great scouting opportunity for everybody involved on Friday night. No question. No question. Well, all right, my friend. Enjoy your week. Enjoy the
You
football.
too, pal.
This
Thank
week.
you, man.
All right, man. Take care, brother. There you go. Bill Roth, the Virginia Tech football voice. And you can listen to a lot of folks, but you're not going to hear anybody like Bill. That's just the way it is. It's science. Major thank you to the NRB Super Bowl. They've been around for 25 years. $40 for Boogie Bowling coming up. 382-5525. James Lawson, Mobile Home Supply since 1997. 300 North Franklin Street in Christiansburg. Give them a call, 381-8011. We're not signing off yet, but I do want to take care of my business here. Family Fencing Studios. Get a free quote, 540-200-8294. FamilyFencingNRV.com. Thanks to those folks here in Reiner sponsoring our studio. McClellan Chiropractic Chat Line. Thanks, Mark Hunley. Chat Line is so much fun. Professional Door Incorporated, our text line sponsor, 540-391-0788. Travis Williams and Company, 38 years, garage doors better than anyone. Go see them, and you won't regret it. I know a couple people, Trav, said they're going to call you. Don't try to fix it yourself. Get the pros to do it. Call Travis. Professional Door. Thanks to Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. They sponsor this program. They have a lot of great things going on, and we appreciate everything that they are about. Experience Pulaski County, Virginia. I don't know. There's not enough accolades you can say. Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg, 540-553-2971. Our BDST fan question of the week brought to you by the attorney, Ryan Pry, 701 West Main Street in Radford. And thank you so much, Larry Ramsey, National Bank member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner of BDST. And go get your car serviced and go buy a new car at Harvey's GM and Brett Harvey. So what we've heard from David and Bill, it is one of those things where I think the whole James Franklin situation, there has to be something going on. I'm not saying he did anything wrong. I don't want to imply that there's some kind of big secret coming out. But you heard the accolades, the bowl wins, you heard the record. What Bill just said makes a lot of sense. Penn State knows it's created a situation where there's only going to be probably 2 or 3 folks they can bring in for that job. That's going to satisfy the donor base at Penn State, which tells me that they already have a bead on their prime candidate at Penn State. I'm talking about the Penn State job. This isn't Virginia Tech. What happened with James Franklin? None of it adds up when you look at the numbers other than something behind the scenes rotted. Now, Phil Amation said this week something happened to that team, that program, during and after the UCLA game because it carried over to the Northwestern game. Is it something internally? There is a new AD there. There's a new AD at South Carolina. Shane Beamer had to fire coach. What Bill said is right on money. You get a new AD. They don't bring – this isn't their coach. You better do things the way that he wants. Something happened. I know you're right, Matthew. Ego, that guy loves him some James Franklin. James Franklin really values James Franklin. And that's fine when you're winning and you're in the playoff. Haven't been any players come out this week to defend their coach. Haven't been any coaches, and they're not going to say anything. I'm just saying something doesn't add up to take on a $50 million bill. And that's all I'm saying to Tech fan. It may look a certain way, but there's probably more to it than we think. And at some point, he'll come forward as we get closer to his next destination or as he lands somewhere else, whether it's in TV, whether it's in – Coach Omation thinks it'll be on TV for a year or two. I kind of believe that as well. I don't think he's even going to be on the market. Maybe he changes his mind. I don't know. Where would he like to go after being at a place like Penn State? Is he ready to go down to a program with, I don't know, I don't want to say it that way, but less esteem? I don't mean it that way. You know what I'm saying? Go to a program that's not in the Big Ten or the SEC. How's that? That's running college athletics. Will his ego allow that? Or does this humble him? Then again, you got $50 million in your bank account because, you were deemed as not being able to do things the Penn State way. You might take a deep breath. His wife may say, why don't we just work on our family? And why don't you I'm not going to tell you can't coach, but you've been doing this a long time. Maybe you need to get out of it for a while. See, we don't know any of these things. Yeah, humble me too for $50 million. Absolutely. So we don't know if he even wants to coach. James Franklin's not a name that has to have his agent put him out there. That's naturally taking care of itself with all these speculative accounts on X and so forth. Which is why I'm trying not to do that here. I had one bit of information I shared with you about one coach that's not on anybody's radar. And I'm standing by that because I got it from a guy who's connected to the agent. But there's going to be a lot of candidates. And this isn't even talking about just the tech job. We don't know what's going to be open. And something happened, though. None of it adds up other than to say that there was something behind the scenes that has not come to light yet. And I'm not talking about a major scandal, but we're going to talk about some kind of personality conflict. We're going to talk about some problem with players and coaches that we don't know about yet with James Franklin. Because what other part of it makes sense to you? I mean, the last few years, the whole Big Game James or not Big Game James has picked up steam. And I gave you the records. And I'll show this to you one more time because this is the only thing that I can see that got him fired right here. 1-15 versus top 5, 4-21 versus top 10, 15-30 in the top 25, and 4-17 against the two programs. The only two programs Penn State measured itself against in the Big Ten are Michigan and Ohio State. So that graphic from Brandon Corretz, we'll give him credit, that guy right there on Twitter. That's why I don't take things that don't belong to me without giving credit. Can't stand when that happens. That, along with what I think was probably some kind of internal struggle, prompted them to make the move when they did and say $50 million is okay. But 1-15, 4-21, that's pretty damning at a place like Penn State. Right? Joseph says, I agree, Rick. I don't see Penn State firing a coach unless they already know their place. That makes sense to me because Bill hit it right on the head. He always does. Their pool of candidates is not nearly as large. I know people may not understand what Bill said, but you do. You do because you're smart and you're sports people. He's exactly right. There may be 3 guys at Penn State can viably replace James Franklin with. And I believe they already have a strong lead on one of those guys. They're not going to be like Virginia Tech and other schools, Tech hiring a committee. They're not going to be hiring firms. Feels like the new AD, very proactive with new contacts, with new information, new relationships with agents. Penn State, in my opinion, and we might be wrong, Joseph, you and I might be wrong, but it feels like they've got a good lead, and they did this to kind of get the other side of this rolling. so this distraction doesn't come into play later. All right, we got him out. So we're going to start working on how it's going to look for you, your staff, blah, blah, blah. He said he just hopes it's not Freeman. I get that. Look, Marcus Freeman done a hell of a job considering, he wasn't a head coach, and he got the gig in college football. He had a little rough start, but he's done a nice job in South Bend. He seems like a really good dude. Joseph, you're a Notre Dame guy. Seems like a really good dude, too. Yeah, the hiring powers are just waiting for him to fail. Wayne, it has to be something. This just in. It's Coach Pride. Breaking news. No, it's not. Oh, I love our audience. Hey, don't forget, October 25th, make your plans. We're going to have an evening session. We're going to do the whole show. We're going to just have fun with it. You're free to have beverages. Let's just watch the language, all right? But we're going to have fun with it. We'll promote that more next week. It won't be this weekend, but it'll be perfect, right? Tech plays on Friday the 24th. We can rehash whatever happens there, and we can just enjoy having games, and we'll just have some fun. The 25th. I got to get out. Everybody, have a great rest of your Wednesday. Thanks to our guests, Keon Brown, David Teal, Bill Roth. Cornucopia of things coming up on Thursday. We'll get Dwight Vick's opinion about all these things. Take care, everybody. Remember, subscribe, like, and share our channel. Remember, of all of our subscribers, if one of you gets somebody you know to subscribe, remind them it's free. We're cooking with grease. Please do that. Help me out as much as you can. Thanks, everybody. Take care. God bless, and we'll see you on Thursday.